Labour government will have completed its first full year in office. Tony Blair has decreed that there be no triumphal celebrations, no popping of champagne corks, as he told News at 10. But the Prime Minister has previously pointed to what he calls a record of which the government's proud: extra spending on schools and hospitals, the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, and devolution underway in Scotland and Wales. For tonight's special report, our political editor Michael Brunson got behind the scenes of high political life to see what the new Blair style means in practice.
Outside number 10 a year ago, the morning of victory by a landslide and a new beginning. Enough of talking, Tony Blair eventually said. It is time now to do. Inside number 10, 1 year on, Tony Blair back from his 31st Prime Minister's questions with his PPS, his Parliamentary Private Secretary Bruce Grocott. His most immediate concern, his need for a cup of tea.
Hey, Monica. You're right. I couldn't have a cup of tea, could I? Really, thanks.
And then straight down to work in the modest office he uses just outside the Cabinet room. Jack Cunningham, now Minister of Agriculture, but 20 years ago PPS to the then Prime Minister James Callaghan, knows that office well. It used to be his.
The first time he invited me in, he said, "Would you like to come in here, Jack?" I said, "Yes, Tony, I would, just to see what it was like 20 years on, because it used to be my office."
The modest office, thought fit 20 years ago only for the junior member of the team. Just one token of a quite different style.
Business is much less formal. I think it's probably done more quickly. I think there is a relaxation about the Prime Minister himself in dealing with his colleagues in the civil service, which has also changed, of course.
The impact on the civil service is something that Paddy Ashdown, a jackets-off man himself, has certainly noted.
I bumped into a very, very senior civil servant, actually 2 days after the election in Whitehall, and I asked them what was the new government like, and he said they were moving at an incredible pace, but then put his face close to mine and said with a very worried expression, "You know, they don't eat lunch."
But when I moved Mr. Ashdown on from the Blair style to the Blair record, he was sharply critical.
I don't think people voted Labour last year to see their local teacher sacked again from their school, to see their grandmother having to wait another 6 months for that painful hip operation. But that's the reality. Of course it takes time, I understand that, but they haven't even made a start.
The Conservative leader, William Hague, whose personal style is rather studiously jackets-on these days as he rebuilds party morale, gave me his verdict.
But don't you think that people respond to this sort of roll-up-your-sleeves, jacket-off kind of style of Tony Blair's government?
Well, style is fine, but there has to be some substance to go with it. And the danger with this government is that there's a lot of style and not a lot of substance behind it. A lot of style about reforming the welfare state, a lot of grandiose statements about that. But actually, when we come to the end of the year, we find that what they've done on the welfare state is to expand the welfare budget and draw more people into welfare dependency.
Tony Blair made it clear as he set out a year ago to turn New Labour into new government that welfare reform would be difficult. But for a significant number of those who joined him to celebrate victory, that area of policy has been their greatest disappointment. A year ago, Diane Abbott was enjoying her own re-election. A year on, she says the way the lone parents' benefit was cut back says so much about the Blair way of doing things.
I think what the leadership has done is remodel the Labour Party as New Labour PLC. Tony Blair is the chairman, Peter Mandelson is chief executive, and we as MPs are just there to market the product.
But that's a minority view, and the Prime Minister, as he returned to recall one of the greatest election night victories, knows it. Stephen Twigg was the man who defeated Michael Portillo, though both have been on their best let's not crow too much behaviour.
So, fine, it's a good start, but a good start's not the same as the job done.
But what happened here a year ago with this young man?
Oh, well, I remember that. Yeah. I can still remember the look of surprise on his face when he...
It was quite a moment.
Yeah, it was quite a moment.
We'll celebrate it appropriately, but not triumphantly.
Yeah. I think it's, it's important people that, this isn't a sort of what we feel we should say, it's how I feel. I mean, I feel I'll know when the job's done or when, we've completed a lot of the work and really I can see everything really turning around. I think we've got the direction right, but we've still got a lot more to do, honestly. That's why we're not, out there popping corks.
So, a year of new government and certainly a new style of government. But the old problems remain: health, education and welfare. And that's the sort of thing that's being discussed in there at the moment between the Prime Minister and Stephen Twigg's constituents. So the style can help, but as Mr. Blair himself knows, he'll be judged on how he solved the problems. Michael Brunson, News at 10 in the Enfield Southgate constituency.
The main news tonight is the continuing controversy over the book on the child killer Mary Bell. Two new inquiries